What's up, guys? It's Luke here, back with this week's episode of the Guinea Pig Project. So guys, if you've been following along, you know by now that this project is all about introducing or reintroducing exercise into your life. And we have just completed week 2. So last week I talked about how week 1 was a struggle for me. I was feeling tired. I was feeling sore. We went over the reasons that I thought that may be or what may be at least contributing to it in last week's video. So if you haven't checked that out and you were feeling the same way or are feeling the same way, go ahead and watch last week's Guinea Pig Project. Might give you a little bit of an explanation. This week, guys, I am feeling so much better. The first week is always the hardest, there's no doubt about that, but I really paid more attention to my sleep this week and put an emphasis on that, as well as how much food I was taking in, and I'm feeling a lot more recovered and just overall better throughout my day and workouts, and more how I'm supposed to feel when you're exercising. You're supposed to feel better. So I hope you guys are feeling better as well. If you are also having a rough go of it in the beginning, if you're not, don't count yourself out yet. You may just need a little more fine-tuning, or your body might just need a little bit more time adjusting. By the time this video comes out, if you've been following along, you are just 3 days from the 3-week mark, and that's when something becomes a habit. So if it hasn't gotten easier for you yet, hang in there. I can guarantee it will. You just got to give it a little bit more time. Alright guys, so I mentioned it in last week's video, but this week is going to be all about losing weight. I'm sure there are a number of you that are watching that's your goal. So let's get right into it. First and foremost, when it comes to losing weight, the most effective way to do so is going to be keeping yourself in a caloric deficit. That means eating less calories than your body burns every day. Most people have no idea how many calories they burn a day, and they probably don't really want to know. Tracking your calories is something that can be very tedious, especially if you're a first-time gym goer or if you're already struggling with sticking to your exercise program. It makes the whole process more daunting and more exhausting. But for those of you who do want to be that hardcore about it, I will go ahead and explain it because I've done this before. I figured out about how many calories I'm burning a day, and then from there you can eat more or less than that number depending on what your goal is. So the number of calories that you burn each day naturally is going to be called your TDEE, your total daily energy expenditure. So that number is going to be how many calories your body burns naturally each day. It's going to be based on things like your metabolism, your metabolic processes, how many calories your muscles burn, how much glucose and how many calories your brain power burns, and just your daily life and the activities that you do on a daily basis. Now, any additional exercise that you incorporate into your lifestyle is going to up the number of your TDEE, your total daily energy expenditure. And there's a formula to figure out this number. There are even a number of calculators online that'll find this for you. I just happened to Google TDEE Calculator, and I really like this one actually. It's tdeecalculator.net. I'll link it in the description below. Now, I have no affiliation with this. It was just the first thing that came up on Google, but I do like it. It asks for your age, whether you're male or female, your weight, your height, how active you are, and your body fat percentage, which is incredibly helpful to know for this. So after you put in all that information, it's going to give you your basal metabolic rate, and then go up from there based on how active you are. Sedentary, light exercise, moderate exercise, heavy exercise, or you're a full-blown athlete. Then down below, it's going to ask what you're trying to do with your weight. Maintenance, maintain the same weight that you are. Cutting, aka losing weight, or bulking, gaining weight. Once you've selected your goal, it's going to give you 3 different options for how to structure your diet: a high carb diet, a moderate carb diet, and a low carb diet. So guys, like I said, I have no affiliation with that website. It was the very first thing that popped up on Google, so I figured I'd check it out. But it does seem like an awesome tool that I'm happy to pass along. Now, for those of you who don't want to be this rigid, you don't want to count your macronutrients, your fats, your proteins, your carbs, a simple rule of thumb is just shopping around the outer wall of your grocery store. I try to do this just from a health perspective. This was something that was recommended by a doctor to somebody that I know a number of years ago, and ever since it's kind of stuck with me. But when you think about it, it makes sense. You have a lot of your naturally occurring products around the outer wall of your grocery store, and everything in the aisles are the things that are processed, come from factories, things like that. And coming from somebody who's tried to follow that advice from a health perspective, but also had a goal of gaining weight throughout their life, I can tell you it is a lot harder eating like this to get in a caloric surplus to eat too much food than it is to eat too little. A lot of the foods that you'll find on the outer wall of your grocery store just aren't as calorically dense, meaning they don't have as many calories, and that's what you're looking for. Now, when people are trying to lose weight, I think there's this stigma out there that cardio is how you're going to get there. Don't get me wrong, I believe that cardio has a place in probably every exercise program, but there are some serious benefits to lifting weights when it comes to trying to lose weight. One of the best ways to increase your total daily energy expenditure, that number of calories that you naturally burn each day, and give you a little more wiggle room in your diet, is to build muscle. And the easier it's going to be to stay in a caloric deficit. Muscle is one of the primary things in your body that burns calories. Another, I think, relatively popular stigma when you're trying to lose weight is just cut out fat completely. And it makes sense. One of your goals, if you're trying to lose weight, is probably to lose some fat. But guys, what you need to understand is your body needs a certain amount of fat intake in your diet. And if it doesn't get it, it's going to cling to what you already have. It's actually going to prevent you from losing the fat stores that are currently on your body. The key is to find healthy sources of fat. What are healthy sources of fat? Olive oil is an excellent source of healthy fat. Nuts and seeds, avocados, salmon. Google a list of foods high in healthy fats, and then my recommendation would be to do your best to get the majority of the fat content in your diet from those foods. Now, with all this talk about eating in a caloric deficit, eating less calories than you bring in, there are two things that are going to be very key in doing this properly, doing it safely, and doing it so that you achieve the goal that you're trying to achieve. The first is going to be that protein is your friend. I've talked about this before, guys. When you exercise, you are actually breaking down your muscles. And when you are in a caloric deficit, it's that much harder for your body to dedicate those calories that are already scarce to building back that muscle. You need to make sure that that protein intake stays high so that your body can adequately build those muscles back up and you're not losing a significant amount of muscle mass in the process. Now, the second thing you're going to want to pay a lot of attention to and put a big emphasis on is your sleep. Guys, if you are dieting for the purpose of fat loss, but you are not getting sufficient sleep, that means 7 to 9 hours per night. 70% of all the weight that you lose is going to come from lean body mass. That means muscle mass, bone density, tendons and ligaments, and the things that help your body operate the way that it should and need to stay healthy. 70% of the weight that you're losing is going to come from all those things, not the fat that you want to lose. Now, this isn't just a stat that I made up or that I Googled online. This is directly from Matthew Walker. He is an expert in sleep. He's got an awesome episode on the Joe Rogan podcast that I would highly recommend. It totally turned around my view on sleep and the necessity of it and how important it really is. Your sleep is also going to play a key role in your insulin sensitivity, and that means how reactive your body is to taking in carbohydrates and specific kinds of carbohydrates, especially simple sugars, things like that. And this is going to play a key role in how quickly or how apt your body is to put on fat when you eat, as well as its tendency to hold on to the fat stores that you already have. So guys, that is where I'm going to wrap it up today. Just a quick recap. We talked about being in a caloric deficit if you're trying to lose weight, eating less calories than you're taking in. How do you find that out? You find out your total daily energy expenditure. Like I said, TDEE Calculator.net I think is an awesome resource that I just found. Happy to pass it on to you guys. If you guys don't want to go through the hassle of counting your calories, try to stick to the foods found around the outer wall of your grocery store. Don't be afraid to lift weights. It's going to help you build more and new muscle, therefore increasing your total daily energy expenditure, how many calories you're burning every day. It'll also thereby increase the amount of calories you can eat every day and give you a little more wiggle room in your diets. Don't completely cut out fat. just try to get the majority of the fat in your diet from healthy sources. And on the heels of trying to keep your muscle mass up, protein and sleep are going to be your two best friends when doing so. So make sure not to slack on those. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something today that's going to help you achieve your goals going forward. If this video was helpful to you and you think it would be helpful to others as well, please do go ahead and share this. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more tips on how to be happier, healthier, more productive, more successful. Next week's video is going to be all about gaining weight and primarily gaining muscle. So make sure to keep an eye out for that if that is your goal, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.